Welcome to Get a Life Astrology. I'm TMZ, teaching everyone abundantly, empowering Zakia, enlightening every day. This is still too low for me. 1 second. Okay. Let's just keep going. Trying to give duality, trying to work with technology. We are literally talking about duality and technology in Gemini, Mars and Gemini, in shadow period, getting ready to go in retrograde in about 2 weeks. In Scorpio season, right before the wonderful holiday of Halloween. Gemini is technology itself. You know, it rules Mercury. So we're talking about Mars acting like a Gemini would. Mars is the show and Gemini is the actor, or Mars is the actor and Gemini is the character that the actor is portraying. This is not only about the retrograde, this is also about the square. That will be lasting and happening 3 times because Mars is going into retrograde. It'll be squaring Neptune, which is already in retrograde. The square will start right at the moment the retrograde starts because it'll be in the 25th degree, which is where Neptune is about. A square can last a long period of time when it has a slower planet like Neptune sitting in a certain degree, and when there's a retrograde, because that planet will literally go back across that point, especially if both planets are in retrograde and as they both move direct. So let's talk about all this energy, this retrograde, this square, this planet Mars, this planet Neptune, this sign Gemini as well. The sign is Pisces. Neptune rules Pisces. Pisces is also ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter's in Aries. Pisces is the sign that ends the zodiac. Aries is the sign that begins the zodiac. We have, I know where I wanted to go. We need to talk about the mutable signs before we go all in. So mutable can be like a storm. We are currently in a cardinal sun sign, sun season, Libra, but before cardinal is always a mutable sign, which is Virgo. The mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, and Sagittarius. So the opposition sign of Virgo is Pisces. The opposition sign of Gemini is Sagittarius. We're specifically dealing with Gemini and Pisces at this time. Gemini has to deal with you personally. It's a personal planet. I'm sorry, it's a personal sign, and Pisces is a more collective sign. Speaking of Pisces and the signs that come right before it, we have Aquarius right before Pisces. We have Capricorn before Aquarius. The last 3 signs spell Cap, but there is no cap about this. Capricorn represents boss energy, authority, grandfather energy, masculine energy. Aquarius represents our unique selves and how we mesh in groups, the humanitarian side of us. Let me go back. Capricorn also represents authority. I said that, but it represents the government, okay? Aquarius represents the people in social groups that may be dividing, and sometimes we're going to come back to that because Saturn is in Aquarius. And Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius and Capricorn. Saturn just left the Capricorn. Saturn is moving into Pisces soon too. Then we have Neptune and Pisces. So anything in these final 3 signs are coming to an end. We've been seeing it happening. We've been seeing the energies closing out, definitely with Neptune. Let's not get into Neptune too much just yet, but Saturn will be in its final stages when it's in Pisces until it goes into the new energy in Aries. We have Jupiter already in Aries in its new energy, in its new cycle. So like the sun goes through a cycle once a year with all of us, That is our overall personality and energy. All the other planets go through their own endings and new beginnings. Jupiter is in Aries, however, it's getting ready to go back into Pisces. So we have another chance to do things new, change our beliefs, take action on things. All the Jupiter aspects in a Pisces way. Then we get to come back into Aries later on and start things anew after we've gone back and reviewed some things, going back into the end of the last energy we had, the last cycle. That is what retrogrades are all about. Learning lessons, checking them over, seeing how you can do it and carry it out. And when you have retrogrades happening in Pisces, Aquarius, and Capricorn, they're ending certain things. So we have Pluto that just came out of retrograde yesterday because today is the 9th. It is 10-9, tomorrow's 10-10. 10-8 is when Pluto finally went out of retrograde. We have Mercury that just left retrograde, and the shadow period ends this week. We have Mars getting ready to go into retrograde. So now we're down to 4 planets in retrograde until the 5th one, Mars, comes. And then we have all these other planets leaving their retrograde at the end. Let me talk about retrograde a little bit more too. I should have kind of did this as an information session before I got into this. So maybe I'll change the title. But when personal planets are in retrograde, the personal planets are the ones that are closest to the sun. The sun never goes into retrograde, neither does the moon. So the next closest things are Mercury, Mars, and Venus. Those planets are also close to us Earthlings because Earth is the next one in line. So because we are closest to them, they affect us the most. Uranus, Neptune, Pluto do not affect us that much unless we are one of the signs it is currently in, which is why Pluto retrograde affected Capricorns the most, and the planet it rules, so the sign it rules, which is Scorpio. So Scorpios and Capricorns are going to feel relief from Pluto going direct yesterday. Neptune, again, being in its home sign of Pisces, is affecting mostly Pisces. It can also affect mostly water signs, but Pisces especially. We're talking about Mars and Gemini, so the Geminis are getting affected the most because Mars is one of the personal planets. Neptune is not, but Neptune is in Pisces. Again, if it's a sign that you have as your sun sign or your rising, you will be affected the most. Hopefully that was explaining some stuff before we finally get into what we have lined up with Mars in retrograde squaring Neptune in retrograde in Pisces. Mars not in retrograde yet, I'm sorry, but it's coming. So Mars in Gemini squaring Neptune in Pisces in retrograde. Getting ready to come up at the end of this month. We are 20 days away, 21 days away from this. The energy is building up. One thing I can say, because Mars also rules Scorpio, it also rules Aries. Mars is about sex. Mars is about your libido, your energy, your drive. So being in Gemini, which is about information, technology, higher mind, local areas, and Gemini being a mutable planet, a mutable sign, this can create sapiosexuality. So let me start off with the good things. Those of you who have been in a dry spell, out of a relationship, and sex fiend like myself, I'm not going to label myself, but y'all know we like sex. So your libido could change if you are in a relationship, or your sapiosexuality. So you want to do more mind fucking with people, or not in a bad way, but you desire your mind to be stimulated versus your body. Aries, that rules Mars, also has to do with your head. So your ego can be built up. You can make more decisions with Mars and Gemini. You can be more, the narrative could change. The fake news can get even faker. Mars also has to deal with weapons, wars, and soldiers, bravery, whatever the word is. So because fake news can be at an all-time high, It could be because there's an army, a soldier, a war on our mind, a war on what we say. Censorship is going to be probably becoming more heavy. It already is. Social media banter and BS, the arguments we have there could definitely grow. Celebrity banter, propaganda. So, you know, the celebrities not only having babies, fake babies, they're breaking up, they're divorcing, they're announcing a whole lot of mess. Gemini can be chatty and gossipy. So because Mars is taking action, being aggressive on this Gemini energy, this is what happens, okay? So then when you tie in the square, Mars and Gemini things, again, information technology, technology including cars. We could be having gas versus electric car wars. We already are seeing that too. Pisces stuff, dreams, consciousness, spirituality, even religious beliefs, because Pisces is also ruled by Jupiter. That can be changing. Your mental and emotional state. The TV, what you see on the TV could be unbelievable. The headlines in the paper can be unbelievable. And I'm just tying in both sides of Gemini and Pisces. All these are Gemini and Pisces characteristics. Substance abuse, viruses, the things that supposedly cure the viruses can be on an all-time informational high. Your talking points about political beliefs and religious and spiritual beliefs, even spirituality. The spirituality community is kind of dividing on a lot of talking points. Church, schools, just a lot of dividing. Why is it going to be so much dividing? Because we have the North Node in Taurus and we have Uranus in Taurus. And those are creating change via all these, via these other things that are happening, like this square, like the retrogrades, where Pisces and Taurus are compatible. It's not a compatible energy with a square happening in all the aspects. Something else about Mars going in retrograde. We're in the full moon of Aries today too. So the moon is even activating Mars at this time. It is the full moon in Aries right now, going on at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, October the 9th. Then we also have 10:10 tomorrow, so that's a portal. And then the next moon is the new moon in Scorpio, which is starting the eclipse seasons because, again, the eclipses follow the North Node and the South Node, and they are in Taurus and Scorpio. After the Scorpio new moon, we have the Taurus. At the same time, Scorpio season starts, which is in about 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today. Exactly, yep. We have another aspect happening where Venus is going to be conjunct the Sun, and Venus is not in its best in Scorpio. I have Venus in Scorpio. We've definitely talked about that. We'll talk about that at another time, but eclipse energy with the solar and with the sun and the moon is huge in itself. Gemini creates 2 different directions. So Mars in Gemini can divide us, that's where I was going, into 2 different directions. And Mars, that is, you know, the planet that rules Aries, the starter, it has boss-like energy, just like Saturn. Mars likes to be in charge, and this is activated by the Scorpio moon that's also ruled by Mars. So one way the retrograde can help us at this time, the Mars retrograde, is you can learn from now until January, when it comes out of retrograde and goes back direct, and then it goes into Taurus in, Cancer after March. You can build your mental energy up. You can self-analyze and self-reflect instead of letting your mental be divided, or you feel like you cannot step into your power with Mars and Gemini. Another thing, you want to slow down where you're especially being reckless. Your mouth, definitely this is something I'm gonna work on. Your driving, your abuse of any substances, especially, this is retrograde as well as this square that happens 3 times, okay, y'all? And all this is happening towards the end of October, which is going to be like one of the toughest times because so much is happening. The sun moving into Scorpio, the moon moving into Scorpio, Venus moving into Scorpio, all this Mars retrograde energy, the shadow period, the eclipse season. Then we got all this Aries energy. We got Chiron in Aries and retrograde, and Jupiter in Aries, getting ready to go back into Pisces. It's a lot of air energy and a lot of water energy coming in. Right now, it's a lot of energy, period. Gemini rules your hands, so do things gentler with your hands. No, because Mars represents war, so it represents all the weapons. New ways to use your hands, like write more. Meditate with them, create things with them, paint. Then new ways to use your mental, new ways to satisfy your mental. Your thoughts with your mental affect the rest of your body. Your body does not affect your mind. Your mind, it starts here, and then the information moves down. So speaking affirmations can help you empower your body more. And I'm gonna even start, and now that Pluto's direct, I feel that my living situation will be in time, and I will definitely put more affirmations on mirrors to remind me. Got plenty of sticky notes from the office that I could use. So just use some of these retrogrades and squares. Conflict brings resolution to solve some of these problems. And it has to come from your head. It has to come. Mars energy is personal energy. Gemini energy is personal energy. So we have to do these things in order to get over the conflict, in order to get the resolution. Last thing I want to tie this up with. Mars in retrograde in Gemini, squaring Neptune. I did briefly talk about this, and I'm just going to touch up a little bit more. Want to stay positive. So I gave those affirmations or ideas, advice that we can all use. But this could possibly be the beginning, if not the continuation, of a spiritual warfare with the Pisces Neptune energy. Technological war with the Mars and Gemini energy. If World War III does not start sometime, and it won't be like, the other world wars we've seen or the civil wars we've seen, it'll be more of stuff we've never seen or stuff we've never believed. Clone wars, alien wars that, might be already going on and we just didn't know that's what was going on. Solar flares. The narratives on media creating division and war. Again, the gas and electric versus electric war, the resources war, the food wars, with all the Taurus energy. So one last thing, Gemini is also the local area. The opposition sign of Sagittarius is the global area. So Me personally, the DMV area, which is what they call DC, Maryland, Virginia. I'm from DC, lived in DC my whole life, maybe stepped to Maryland and Virginia about total of 5 years each. I mean, total of 5 years combined. So some in Maryland, some in Virginia when I was in school, maybe 10 if you count school. 2 years in California, 2 months in Nevada. But long story short, that Sagittarius energy is ending with me. Like, I need to find a home place and then maybe branch out again later. But Gemini in retrograde is going to keep me pretty much fixated on dealing with my local area. Maryland is literally 15 minutes from the center of DC. Okay, and Virginia is too, going either north or south. And I literally cannot get the services I need to move to Maryland. So I just didn't give up, but I put that on pause. And now DC is offering some services so that I can stay in DC and get a home of my own again in DC. So I'm happy. I'm going to move forward with that. But it's with this Gemini, this Mars and Gemini, it's saying, okay, what can you handle locally? What war can you deal with locally? What what can you be brave about locally? Can you help yourself before moving anywhere, before moving on to anyone? And then the Neptune and Pisces energy is like, well, let's care about other people spiritually, and because we see them on the media and the media is portraying them as suffering. And I'm using the big U as one way. Let's care about these people that we don't have no clue about before we care about ourselves. And that's the conflict right there. That's where we divide. That's where it becomes tough. That's where our mouthpieces might have too much to say. And all this needs to be watched and self-reflected. And what a better way to start with Z. I'm Z, teaching everyone abundantly empowering. My name is Zakia, enlightening every day. This is Get a Life Astrology. I expect for a lot of my videos, my information, my truths, and those coming from those I study from, even to change in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching all the way through. Thank you for liking, commenting, and sharing. And I'll see you very soon. Peace.